Hi there, it's Simone. I am going to share my currently inked review for the month of April with you today. I'm going to look at all the pens I had inked in the month of April and tell you what I liked and didn't like about them, and then rank them. And I'm also going to go on a bit of a rabbit hole deep dive. This month I had a lot of fun with all the pens and inks that I have used. I have been paying lots of attention to how a pen feels in my hand and what I do and don't like about the writing experience. I've also inked up 2 different sets of pens with the same ink so I can better compare the pens. But that's the intro, and let's dive into the individual pens. I am writing down my currently inked list each month in 3 different notebooks. One is on Tomoe River paper, which is this one right here. This is also where I am ranking the pens by their appeal to me, or how I gravitated towards them. I wanted to show you quickly what it looks like on the Cosmo Air Light paper. I am really enjoying the Cosmo Air Light more and more, especially for writing down these currently inked. I haven't really used it for long form journaling, so I can't say much about it. But in the beginning, I was very not drawn to it because it felt very sluggish. I felt like I was dragging my pen through mud, and it doesn't feel like that anymore. Maybe I'm using different pens. Maybe I have gotten used to it. I do have a notebook that I could use as a journal, and maybe I'll try that at some point. And then I also write it down on MD paper. I was going to stop that, but I have started a journal where I'm sometimes using fountain pens that uses MD paper. For some reason, I don't really enjoy my fountain pens on this paper. I'm not sure it's the paper or this specific notebook, because when I use my traveler's notebook, it doesn't happen like that. But I just wanted you to see how different these pens and inks look on different paper, and I feel the difference is very obvious in these 2, in the Cosmo Air Light and the MD paper. But I was going on a tangent right here. This is what I had inked. I kept all of my pens in this rickshaw pen case. Sinclair is the model name, and then I put the 2 pens that were given to me on loan into 2 rickshaw pen sleeves, and the other one that was given to me on loan in one of those special separate places, and then all the other pens that I own into this bigger slot here. I hope you can see that. It doesn't seem like it. So here is, in the middle, I put all the sleeves. Then I had the more expensive pens in these separate compartments. This one was right out here, and then all the other pens in this bigger space, and they all fit. So, Bennu Talisman, Venus's Hair, medium nib. Let me put my notebook where I took my notes over here so I can see it better. It is smaller than my Euphoria, and it's not as comfortable as the Euphoria, which is weird because the grip section is exactly the same, but it's not as long. And maybe that's the reason why. I think I grip my Euphoria further back, but then it feels like it's almost falling in between. I didn't feel very drawn to it. I felt indifferent. Let's put indifferent. That's a nice word. It's like if I have it or not doesn't necessarily make a difference. I really enjoyed the medium nib, but to be 100% honest, I'm not sure this is the pen model that I should own. Weird. Yes, so this is one of the pens that was okay overall, didn't stand out, but didn't disappoint either. This one is the Lamy 2000 with an extra fine nib, was inked with KWZ in grapefruit, and I feel like this ink is very wet. The pen wrote really wet. Every time I used it, it felt really amazing. It's wet. KWZ inks are scented. They smell like vanilla, and I can smell it, but it's not as appalling even as I thought it was going to be. I just got a whiff of it. That's why I thought about it. Everything about this writing experience was great. I enjoy when I post it. I usually hold my pen further back between these two silver notches and the grip section and the ink window, and that's when it's pretty girthy, the section, and the writing experience is quite comfortable for me. I know that many people do not enjoy the writing experience with this pen. I do. I feel like when I hold it back here, the distance towards the paper of my hand and the paper is exactly perfect. So yes. Do you know what this color is? This is a red color. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, check the subscribe button, which is red as well, and click that and you will get more amazing videos just like that. So this I really enjoyed a lot. Then I had my first borrowed pen that I will have to send back really soon. This is the Esterbrook Estie in honeycomb with a broad nib. And this writing experience with this pen, I always wonder when people say, wow, this is such an amazing writing experience. They were wowed by a fountain pen. Maybe I haven't been just yet wowed like that before, but this one really took the cake. I love the way it feels in my hand. It feels very well made. It feels, the acrylic is amazing. The finish, I really like that this has a metal threads here and here, so you are not, and also there is this now I'm forgetting the name, this, what is that called, that lets you know when you're tightened the section and the fountain pen. There's no error margin. You are not going to over tighten. Same thing. The only thing that I'm really having to get used to is pushing in the cap a little bit so that the threads start gripping. But again, it does not feel like I'm over tightening this at all. It feels really well made. I love that it is a JoWo nib that I can screw out. I did actually do that and try it. Sarah, please don't get mad at me, but if you just take this and start turning, you can see you can loosen this, and then you can screw in any other JoWo number 6 nib that you own. It doesn't have the Esterbrook logo, of course, but that's so appealing to me, and especially the width of the grip section feels really good. This was the very first broad nib that I have written with that I really enjoyed using. I will get to that later on more as well, but this was wow. Perfect. It made me want this pen I would even get it in a broad nib. When I'm buying this pen, I am not. But even the nib was so good that I would be maybe able to convince to get this in a broad nib. So yeah, this was stunning. Then, now, if this was the best experience this month, this was almost the worst experience. I think I said it in my currently inked video as well. I don't know what I thought when I put this ink into this pen. This is absolutely not what I enjoy at all. It does shade nicely. That's the only good thing I can say about it. Shades nicely. But it wasn't even a bright yellow. It feels washed out. It feels dry. It must be a me problem. I have seen so many people recently sharing currently inked videos, currently inked photos on their Instagram feeds where they have tons of pens that are inked with these very, very light inks, often these light Ferris wheel press inks, and they enjoy those inks in fine, extra fine nibs. I'm struggling with a medium nib. And so this must be a me problem. It's not the color's fault. It's not the pen's fault. This is me thinking that I would enjoy something that I clearly don't. I haven't enjoyed it for a long time. I had the same problem with this Honeybee Eater's Chin. I had the same problem with, what was the other? The Little Rubinas, also super light. Well, this was my favorites of 2022, so I guess I didn't include any of those extremely light inks in here. I did a good job in November too. So sometimes I seem to be forgetting that I don't enjoy these kinds of colors, and then I wonder why I'm disappointed. So yeah, I am going to use this pen next month again with a dark ink, with a wet ink, so that I can get this off my naughty list, so that I can get the feeling that something is wrong with this pen, when there is nothing wrong with the pen, but everything wrong with my decision-making process. So I can get it off that list and I can enjoy this pen for what it is. Then these were my extremely surprise pens. I have two of the same, and I'm just thinking, can I take them out and not mix them up? Yes, I marked one with a washi strip. My friend Sarah sent me this pen on loan for a month. Then another friend reached out and said I could have this on a long-term loan. She didn't enjoy the writing experience with this pen, so my Sherlock Sherman senses were piqued. My interest was piqued. I was going to ink this up with the same ink to see if there was any difference. Maybe I could help troubleshoot why it felt different. I also inked up another pen with the same ink, which is the Custom 74. But unfortunately, no Sherlock Shermaning was needed. No Sherlocking was needed because those pens both write exactly the same. Even this one writes well, if you probably are super experienced with gold nibs, you will feel a difference. But at this point in my fountain pen journey, I do not notice a difference between any of these three nibs. So now let's deep dive into my rabbit hole, because I'm sitting here with these three pens. This is a number 5 gold nib from Pilot, which equals a number 4, number 5 steel nib, if you would compare this to a Yovo nib sizing. And this is a number 15 gold nib, Pilot gold nib. This equals or corresponds with the number 6 Yovo nib. So if this writes the same, my experience is the same. What draws me to this pen more than this pen? So clearly it can't be the size of the nib. But what is different with this pen? The only thing that I can see is the weight, but also the girth of the section. So now I went online, picked a shop that I knew was providing measurements for the grip section width, and wrote out all the pens that I personally own and also that are some of that are on my wish list, and wrote down the given width of each section. Here is the Twisby's, Pilot, Kaweco, Lamy, More Lamy, Bennu Talisman, Platinum 3776, the Platinum Rubinas, which is on my wish list, Pilot Vanishing Point, the Shown Design is on my list, Esterbrook Estie, I own the Opus 88 Coloro, then I also put down the Metropolitan, the Kakuno, I have a Pelicano Junior, the Jinhao X159, I measured the Franklin Kristoff pens with my own caliper. And then when I was at the Lamy 2000, which has a width of 7.9 millimeters, I started to wonder where that would measure to. And I tried measuring it with mine, but I couldn't really, I'm not even sure I could find the 7.9 millimeter diameter on this. So I started to remeasure all the pens that I own with where I'm actually gripping the pen. Because, for instance, the Lamy 2000, I don't grip it down here. I personally grip it between this and this. I just showed it to you. So I need to measure right here. I am gripping this pen very close to the threads right here. So I'm not all the way down here. I'm here. So, and then I'm comparing these measurements that I have taken from the website with the measurements that I'm getting. I can see that, yes, sure, let's take, for instance, the Twisby Eco and the Twisby Mini. The Twisby Eco measures at 9.1 millimeter on the Goulet website and 9.6 on the Goulet website. Where I'm gripping the Twisby Eco, my measurement says 9.8. Where I'm gripping the Twisby Mini, and I'll get to that later again, is not down here. I'm actually gripping it right here. So the section is 11.2 millimeters, which then is very, very close to my own personal, where I'm holding the Pilot Custom 823, 11.42, where I am holding the Esterbrook Estie, 11.5 millimeters. And I feel like I'm onto something here. I'm enjoying the pens that have a section width of about 11.5 millimeters roundabout a lot. The Lamy 2000 at that specific place where I'm holding it is 11.6. Those feel very comfortable in my hand. Very interesting for me was, again, even if I haven't measured the others yet, the Twisby Eco has 9.1 millimeters, the Eco T 9.5 millimeters. I usually, before I even measured anything, I was more drawn to the Eco T than the Eco. And when I purchased the Go, I think I even said this feels more comfortable in my hand because the section, according to the Goulet website, is 10 millimeters. So you have different sections on pens that are almost the exact same, even with here. This might not make such a huge difference for you. It does for me. Because I do have a pinched nerve in my neck that when it's flared up affects my writing durability, the stamina that I have, it starts falling asleep. I have tickling all the way down to my fingers. And so, and I feel how easily my hand fatigues when my nerve is pinched and it's flared up. So every time that I used a pen that had a very narrow section, I would not be able to write as much as with a wider section. Okay, so this is my rabbit hole side quest that I wanted to elaborate on a little bit, because I did not use the Pilot Custom 74 after I inked it up and compared the nibs. Wet. It's always wet. It's a lovely pen, and I will keep this and I will use it, but probably more with not as an everyday writer, if that makes sense. This, and I'm just going to use this as a stand-in for both of those, was so extremely comfortable that I was drawn to this all the time. And it is a tiny bit longer than the Esterbrook Estie when I'm uncapping it right here. So this I might post because it feels short. This one is exactly the right length for my big hands. It is just right like so. No need to post, no need for nothing. So this was amazingly comfortable, and I don't know if you see how amazingly the ink shades. Maybe this is just this ink, but I have never enjoyed this Robert Oster Tea Time ink until I put it in that pen. So yeah, let's move on to the next pen, which is the Franklin Kristoff Model 45 with a SIG medium nib, and you can clearly see right here when I'm putting these flourishes down what happens with the cap. It doesn't seal well. I would have to use this on a daily basis in order for it not to dry. So you can see this must have been drier than usual, so it started to get darker. I love the nib, lovely nib. And I'm really not sure what to do with this. This section is also indented so that your fingers land here, and this is where my fingers land. Of course, it feels really like there is no other choice but to slide into this indentation, which makes this grip section even narrower. And so I am currently playing with the idea of letting go of this pen, because in the long run, it will not serve me in the way that I need it to serve me. I feel very attached to it because it was my first Franklin Kristoff. It was the first maker pen. I had some issues with it. I got those issues fixed. So yeah. But I think in the long run, letting this go and replacing it with something that will serve me better would be the thing to do. I have two options. I could sell the pen and keep the nib, but I don't really have any number 5 sections, pens that take number 5 Euro nibs. Or I could sell the pen so that I can replace the number 5 SIG nib with a number 6 SIG nib. I have already packed up all my fountain pen boxes and all the original packaging, so I won't be selling them until July. But if you're interested in this pen, first of all, if you don't want a box, I can sell it to you without the box. But if you want it and you want to be on my reach out to me when you're ready to sell it and you're settled, then for sure let me know and do through direct messaging on Instagram, or leave a comment and we'll get in contact with email. Next, I had these two pens inked with the same ink because I really wanted to get a grip on or a better understanding whether I really like broad nibs or I don't. The first conclusion that I can say is no, I don't seem to like broad nibs, which is a bummer because all of my friends always say how amazing the YouTubers that I follow, that I consider my community, my friends, they all have a tendency to gravitate toward broad nibs. And I would love to be the same, but I'm not. And I'm coming to the conclusion that I just have to get over this and accept it. Interestingly enough, this was much wetter than this. And as I elaborated earlier, the TWSBI Eco isn't as comfortable to me as other pens. So what I have decided to do is unink this and sell it. Last year, I was really keen on accumulating one TWSBI Eco in each of the different nib widths. And while it was an okay idea at that time, I feel like I've passed that and I don't need to keep a pen that is just not for me. So again, if this glow green TWSBI Eco with a broad nib wants to be in your collection, let me know and I'll talk to you in July. This was or is the Bennu Euphoria, and it's a broad nib, but it felt nicer. It feels nicer in my hand than the Talisman, which really annoys the heck out of me because I wanted to love this pen more. So I am really considering maybe swapping a nib around and putting this broad nib on here, selling it with a broad nib, keeping the medium and the fine for this one. I'm not 100% sure yet, but again, this lays in my hand really nicely. I grip it around here. It feels good when I write. This, I grip further down, maybe because I want this to stick out more, not sure. And yeah, I can't really say more. I think I'm going to use this a little bit longer. I still have a lot of time. I'm not in a rush to sell anything, but that's where my mind wanders towards. Okay, so what is this? This is wet to broad. This is okay. What I really enjoyed was the shading. Even in this dark ink, there is some shading, and I really like that. I also like the tiny red sheen that comes through, or red halo sheen that comes through. Okay, not love. And then I have all of those pens out here. This one I haven't pulled out yet is the Franklin Kristoff Model 2. Again, it has an indentation, but of course, because it's a number 6 nib, the section is wider and it's more comfortable in my hand. It isn't a pocket pen, so I don't have to post it. It's still long enough. When I post it, it looks like this. It feels good. It doesn't get too long because it posts so deeply. This is definitely a keeper pen. I'm not sure if I am in love with the extra fine SIG nib, and I'm thinking of changing that out for a SIG medium nib, which would then play into the fact that I could just, have a SIG medium nib in here, and then I didn't have to keep this pen. If you want this SIG extra fine nib and pay for a SIG medium nib, I would love a swap. That's my thought process right now. This feels like a commercial, a selling show. It's not. It's just, you know, that's what I'm thinking of. And if you're in the market for something like that, just reach out and we will find a solution to fine. It was a great flow. I had issues with this before. It worked really well with this ink. I enjoyed this ink in this pen, so that was definitely a win. And then the last pen that I had inked is the white rose gold. Again, this is actually really a selling commercial. I'm gripping this further back, so it's very comfortable in my hand. This ink reminds me a lot of Diamine Ink When Sees the Night. It even smells very similar. Maybe that's just the color combination. And again, you would think that this, because it's such a small pen, would be more uncomfortable than any of these other pens. But as I said, this section is quite wide. I'm gripping it further back. And because this is a screw to post, this works really well. The cap, I'm not looking for the cap. This is really a nice pen for me. I always tend to hold it in my hand for a while when I'm not posting it, and then suddenly it disappears and I'm looking all over for my caps. So when I can post a pen, or when I have to post a pen, and then it's secure, it doesn't fall off, nothing happens with it, this is definitely a bonus for me. I'm not sure I'm the right person for this rose gold and white. I am currently actually thinking of replacing this pen with the new purple that is coming out. So if you want this one and I'll have the purple, that would be awesome. The reason why I don't think I'm the right person for this is because I know that you have to be so careful with this pen and stains. It still looks amazingly pretty. And I hope that wouldn't be the case with a clear pen that just has purple aluminum. It's wet and juicy. It is a steel nib, but it feels really nice. So yeah. I really enjoyed this pen overall. All right, this is all I had scripted, but I want to sort them and rank them. And you might have guessed that these probably are further in the back. These are more in the front. So the only question is, how am I going to sort these? I guess yes. So I think even though I said this was the most wow, I think I still enjoy this pen just a smidgen more. I'm going to put this here. I think this one was next because it's such a wet pen and I just love this color. I love the way it dries. It's not overpowering. It's bright, but it's still lovely. I think I'm putting this next, and then this one, because I like this more than the broad nib. Then this one. Then the Talisman. Or maybe the Talisman. I think I actually wrote with this more than with this. I think the broad nibs are just such game changers, or like deterrers of me gravitating towards these. So I'm actually even going to put this one. This could be the same. Maybe I can put these on the same. And then this and this. I think this is the order that I'm sorting them. Best, least. That's a new thing. The pen that I love most of the time is in last place. The reason is because I just did not use it. I I would always, when I thought about using the green ink, I would always use the custom 823 and never this. I think it would change and be different if I had a different ink in there, and so there was more, you know, pull because there is a different ink, but that's just not how it worked. So let me move these aside and rank. I'm going to put number 1 right here. So I can put these away. This is Sarah's pen. This is the other one. Then this is another. I'm so sad that I have to send back number 1 and number 2. But yes, I'm saving up so I can purchase this one. Then I'm going to have number 3 right here. Then number 4 is going to be right here. I'll put this is number 5. I just really enjoy this special nib grind on this. It's just so much more interesting. So this is number 6. Then this would be number 7 and number 7. 7. And then the bottom one of those is also the 7. So then 7 and 8 are taken. The next one I have to place is number 9. Number 9. Number 10. And number 11. That's cool. I like that these both have 1s in them. Okay. All right. So this is what I have, how I've been feeling in April. Overall, this was a very successful month for me. With all the experimenting I have been doing, it felt like, besides the writing experience and the joy that I had when using a pen, I journaled just because I wanted to journal and use a fountain pen, not because I had anything to say. I loved writing with those pens into my journal, my YouTube journal, where I put all of those pens, like all of the scripting, the notes that I took for all of those pens. I think this was, this one is not, but this is where I started using these pens. And I have written so much with those just in my YouTube notebook. I have written in my journal. I have filled 1.5 signatures just with writing random stuff because I wanted to use those pens. That's how much I enjoyed them. And I hope you had a lovely time with me today and you have a similar experience with your pens. They bring me so much joy when I'm anxious. I love just playing with them, the haptic feeling, the nibs on the paper just bring me joy. I hope it's the same for you. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, anything to say. Reach out to me via DM on Instagram if you're interested in any of the nibs or pens that I have mentioned earlier. And I will see you soon. Until then, bye.